Hey y'all, it's Bailey and welcome back to the channel for what is going to be the palette recommendation tag started here on YouTube by Hello Kaylee. I will link her video and her channel down in the description below if you want to go check it out. And thank you so much to Liz who recommended I do this or asked that I do this in my recent, I believe it was my beauty graveyard video. Yeah, thank you guys so much. I love hearing suggestions from you guys as to what you want to see here, and so we're doing it. Basically, this tag is all about which palette I would recommend to you in the given categories that Kaylee has created. It's super fun, so let's go ahead and dive in. So first up is Best Palette for Beginners. For that, I have the Milani Bare Necessity Everyday Eyes palette. I chose this because for a couple of reasons. It's drugstore, so it's very affordable. If you're just taking the leap into eyeshadows, you don't have to break the bank to get a really nice palette. It contains a mix of slightly, well, satin, shimmery, matte. Super important, I think, to have all in one affordable palette. And then on the back here, it gives you step-by-steps. It labels all the shades. You have, you know, base and contour, lid, crease, specialty liner, and then it gives you 3 different ways to wear it. And I just think that is super nice to have as a beginner. If you know, aren't planning on going to YouTube for tutorials and you just want something straight out of the box or palette, as it were, to help you get to an ideal eye look, this is really all you could hypothetically need, and it's such a great value. So that is my pick for the number 1. Next up is Best Drugstore Palette, and this will come as a surprise to no one. It would probably end up on a lot of your lists as well because it still, to this day, remains the best drugstore value out there. It's the Comfort Zone palette by Wet n Wild. You get 8 shadows, a mix of neutrals and greens, and even a duochrome. This was like one of the first duochromes I ever saw, ever. Eyeshadow high-end, period. And it's just such a unique collection of shades that create everything from a wearable to, you know, if you want to start dabbling in these greens, a little bit more colorful looks. It just has everything you need, and it's what, less than $5, less than $6? I mean, insane value, and the color selection is just, oh. Next up is Best Palette for Work and or School, and I feel like when you go that direction, people and or the actual institutions themselves get a little bit more conservative when it comes to what you feel comfortable wearing, what's acceptable to wear, and so for that I went all matte, classic, one of my favorite all matte palettes, the Kat Von D Shade and Light. The reason I like it is, I mean, because they're super high quality matte shadows and you have the perfect everyday neutrals, you know, like the classic browns. You even have the cooler taupes depending on your undertones or what you prefer to wear on a daily basis, but then you get those super amped up deep shades like this deep matte black, a deep chocolatey brown. There's even a really beautiful kind of bricky, reddy leaning brown. So you can still have some fun with the color combinations, but at the end of the day, or the beginning of the day, I suppose, when you're actually putting this on, you're still gonna get a classic pulled together all matte eye look. Number 4 on the list is the best palette to naturally play with color, and I think that just means, you know, if you wanna go a little bit off the beaten path, if you wanna start veering away from something like the the Milani neutrals or the Kat Von D Shade and Light, what's the best way to do that but still feel comfortable and like you're not, you know, getting too far away from those middle of the road neutrals? And for that I picked the LORAC Unzipped palette, and this is actually the palette that I'm wearing on my eyes today. If you're unfamiliar, I mean, you've been living under a rock, but let me tell you about it. It's amazing. It is those beautiful mauvey plums, combo of all of them, but you also have those classic bronzy shades here in the middle. You get the nice lighter shades over here, and then you start veering into the more colorful plums, mauves, and certainly more deeper shades, and then you also have the mix of textures. You have some satins, 3 matte shades, and then a couple of really beautiful shimmers, but they're very wearable shimmers because the granularity of the shimmer is ultra fine. You're not going to feel like a disco ball with like glitter on your eyelids. Ultimately, I feel like this is a gateway palette into more purpley plums because as I wear it on my eyes today, I am wearing Unbridled, right? Yes, Unbridled in the corner of my eye, and I feel like it looks more brown than plum, but it's just enough plummy color in there to get you hooked and like dabbling more into the purples and things like that. You know, it's a gateway palette. That's what I'm gonna call it. Number 5 is Biggest Bang for Your Buck, and I'm torn between 2 here. The first of which is the Makeup Revolution Redemption Eyeshadow Palette Iconic 2. Basically, this brand, it's available at Ulta here in the States, and I think it's been available in the UK for a long, long time. Basically, they have one of these palettes for every naked palette. This one obviously is supposed to replicate the 2. I believe they have a 3. They have a lot of products products in general that dupe higher end products. And so I have a duper dud on this compared to the Naked 2 if you want to go see a full-on comparison, but basically it very closely mimics the appearance of that, but for a small fraction of the price. And so for that, I just believe that for the number of shadows, the variety of shadows, how close it comes to something that is, you know, 5 times more expensive, it's a pretty stinking great value. Then the alternative that I have is the NYX Butt Naked Eyes palette, and this, I mean, it's nice. You get 15 shadows, a really nice big mirror, 15 good sized shadows, but what makes this like the ultimate value for me is that you not only get the shadows, but you also have an entire lower section down here that folds out to give you 4 blushes and then 3 highlight slash bronzy sort of things, and it depends on the palette you get. This is the first edition. There's also a second edition that I think these are more highlighters, and you still get the 4 different blushes, but basically it's just like an unbeatable value for a palette that I think retails for still less than 20 bucks. 15 eyeshadows, 4 blushes, and then 3 highlight contour powders is just a really good deal in my book, and they're all good quality. I mean, they're not the most recent formulation of NYX shadows, so they might not be the best quality NYX offers, but still pretty good given the price. Number 6 is the best palette for your skin tone, and this was really hard for me to land on one, and so I actually didn't. I realized it was because I feel like all the palettes that I have picked flatter my skin tone, and I have a neutral undertone, so rather than point to one, I would just say that I can't, as someone with a neutral undertone, I just can't go, you know, too warm or too cool. Although I do feel like I have a good mixture here, you know, there are some warmer neutrals in the Kat Von D Shade Light, but then I also have these cooler shades here in the Makeup Revolution, the Butt Naked Eyes palette, and I feel like, you know, all of those flatter my skin tone. There's no one that does it best. So essentially I would just recommend all of these, and I can't answer that question. Best palette for your eye color, on the other hand, I got. This had to appear somewhere in here. It's been like a favorite palette for the past, what, 3 to 4 months running. It's the Anastasia Modern Renaissance palette, and the reason it's best for my eye color is because I have hazel eyes. So depending on what I wear, whether it is these reds, they'll appear more green, or if it's something warmer over here, they'll appear more brown. And this is just the palette that I go to, one, because I love it, period, but also because it allows me to play a little bit more with my eye color. So if you have hazel eyes, I recommend something like this because those pinky plums are going to bring out the green, whereas the more neutrals are going to bring out the amber or brown. And so this is just going to really maximize what you can do with your eyes, if you know what I'm saying. Number 8 is the best all-in-one palette, and for that I have to go back to an oldie but goodie. It is the LORAC Original Pro palette, and I chose it because, for the same reason why I've clearly hit pan and used a lot of these up, it includes the perfect mix of shimmer and matte and neutral and color and light and dark. It has all of your bases covered. You could create an entirely matte look, an entirely shimmery look, mix it up. It's just, in my mind, there is nothing you can't do with this palette because it has every essential color you could need and then some. And the case is super slim. Like, it always blows my mind how no matter, I can pick all of these palettes out of my collection and this still manages to be like the most sleek and slim one of the bunch. Number 9 is the best palette for travel, and I'm a little boring here because I duplicated a palette I already mentioned, but I'm sure you can understand why. It's the Butt Naked Eyes palette, really either this one or the other one, whatever flatters your coloring the best. And it's because, if you couldn't have guessed already, you not only get the eyeshadows but also the face powders too, and when it comes to traveling and really condensing everything down and like boiling it down to your essentials, this knocks out like half the products you could need and introduces variety as well, because when you think about it, I never think to pack 4 blushes and 2 different highlights when I'm traveling. It's like I have to pick one, and this, you not only get a full set of eyeshadows but variety with your face palette too. So I had to pick this one. And finally, number 10, one palette I do not recommend. It is the Revlon Not Just Nakeds palette. I've had this for 5 months. I think I picked it up when it first came out because I was intrigued. It was like another one of those drugstore neutral palettes to do like a comparison, and I never ended up talking about it because after a couple times swatching it, I just was so uninterested in using it because I was so underwhelmed by the color payoff and the pigmentation. It is just not a good palette, and even though it didn't break the bank, I still would recommend saving up. You know, honestly, go for a better drugstore palette. There are a couple of them out there now that are so worth it, and this one is just not it. So visually, the color selection is really nice. It gives you this an ideal world, if it were a good performer, this would be another fun kind of natural way to play with color, but it's just not. It's just not. I know there are a couple of others in this collection. I think there's a True Neutrals, and I haven't tried those. I've only tried this one, but just based on my initial reaction to this guy, I'm not compelled to try them because I was just underwhelmed. So that's it. Those are all the palettes that I'm including in my palette recommendation tag. Really hope you enjoyed it. And like I said earlier, definitely go check out Hello Kaylee's video. It's linked in the description below. If you make videos, I would love to see you do this tag. Definitely make sure to let me know, let Kaylee know. If you don't make videos, tell me what your picks would be in the comments below. I look forward to hearing them, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Please don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll catch you in the next video. Bye, guys.